I'm Simon Coury.
And I'm Kevin McDermott, and Ellen is the third member of our team, and she teaches in St. Aidan's School, Community School in Brookfield. I started on the original author team for Discovery, and that was first published for 2001 exam. So I've been working, I think this is the 27th edition of the book I've worked on. And so they haven't found me out yet. I absolutely love working on it. It's a great book, and we're all passionate about poetry. So it's a lovely project to work on.
So first of all, Discovery covers both higher level and ordinary level. We have all the higher level poets, and we have all the ordinary level poems, both from those 8 poets and the other selection on the ordinary level syllabus. That means the school only needs one book, the class only needs one book, and individual students can decide later on in the course whether they want to do ordinary or higher level. So yeah, we have that all covered in one book.
We also have that the ordinary level poems are recorded. So we've audio of all the ordinary level poems, and the ordinary level poems include a selection from the higher level poets. So every poet who's on the course, we have some recording of their poems. And that's really helpful for both higher level and ordinary level, that you hear a poem being spoken. It's quite a different experience to the often silent reading of the poem on the page. So we think that's a nice addition to the book as well.
Yeah, because poems are not just words on paper. They are sounds in the body. So to have that experience of listening to the sounds of the poem is a really important one.
One of the great advantages we have is that some of the audio recordings are the poet reading their own poems, and where we don't have a poet, we have Simon or Ellen in particular read, and they're both brilliant readers, and so that's fantastic to have people who are such talented readers, and because it really brings the poem alive, makes it jump off the page. There are lots of help for students and teachers preparing for exams. I mean, the whole book in some ways is an exam resource. The poems are printed really nice and cleanly on the page. There's good glossary to get over that initial comprehension that you need, like the basic understanding of what the poem is saying. And then the questions are there to tease out further understanding, the kind of understanding that might be examined in the course of the examination. And then there are little things like snapshots for the ordinary level poems. It gives like a quick summary of everything that's happening in the poem. For the higher level poets, we have a snapshot of the poet. It gives a kind of summary of what that poet's concerns are. And then there are exam revision charts at the back of the book, quick glance, the whole poet on one page, and you have sample
essays. Yeah. We also, for each higher level poet, have a sample essay. It's not a model perfect essay, but it's usually a decent example of an essay with some annotations and comments boxes at the side, pointing out the structure, also pointing out sometimes where the writer could have done something better. And at the end of that, we have a self-marking scheme, so that students can look at what they've written, or indeed look at that essay that they're looking at there, and judge it, mark it according to the exam schemes.
Purpose, coherence, language mechanics. So those little PCLM grids at the end of the essay allows the student to go back over and say, oh yeah, that was really purposeful. Oh, the language might have been better there. And when they write their own one, they have that as a resource as well. We like the little comments all around the essays. We look upon them as the kind of thing that an examiner might say to a candidate. So it's a way of getting students to think, when I'm writing for an examiner, so what are the things I need to keep in mind?
We also have the student portfolio, which has got some really useful material for revising for exams, and also for learning how to approach questions. So there are keywords for each poet there. So for each poet, the keywords will be different because the things that they write about and the ways in which they write will be different. So those are words that are useful prompts for students to, when they're writing an essay, to have some vocabulary, some ways of thinking into what they want to write. And then we also have themes, asking a question, an exam-style question about the poet, giving an example of how to approach an opening and then into the discussion. And we do the same thing with image for each poet.
Then we have another sample exam question rather. And the way it's laid out, the portfolio is laid out, we say in your first paragraph you should try this. If you're moving on to your second paragraph, you should be able to link it to the first one. So we give some structural help with a student to try out and to guide them as how to shape a coherent answer. So, and that can be done in the portfolio. It's like a little, they have a guided example of work for themselves, for their revision.
And spaces in which to write their own.
We think anything in the portfolio is useful. It's not full of kind of empty pages. It's nice and tight, but we feel everything that's in there contributes something to a student and helps them to think through exam questions. Yeah. So the unseen poetry, we have a little guide to that. So the guide is just almost how to read a poem and what to look out for when you're reading a poem from scratch. So the unseen poem is a poem that the students haven't studied. They're coming new to it in the exam. So our guidelines really are to help them how to scan down, how to read, how to have confidence in their responses. And then we give them exam style. And the exam style questions actually on the unseen poem are quite short and brief, and they're not really intimidating. So it's really about developing the student's confidence. I can read, I can understand, I can respond in a way that's convincing to an examiner, and is convincing to me that it's my response. So we have a little side to reading and then some sample poems to work on.
I think it's really important that, and this was the case from the beginning of doing Discovery, there are 3 authors because there's a lot of work involved, and we wanted to make sure that each of the poets, each of the poems was really done in depth. There's a lot of research to do.
Yes.
So we have three authors so that we can make sure that we cover things fully and well, and make sure that it's all accurate. The other thing I would say, I'm very proud of the commentaries, of our guidelines to the poems, to the nitty-gritty of the poems themselves. And one of the things that we've always been conscious of is not telling students what to think, not saying this is what X means, this is what Y means, this is how you should think about the poem. We try as far as possible to open up a question, to have an open question of, this could be, what do you think? All the time to get a personal response.
I mean, the whole point of the exam, the Leaving Cert exam, is to elicit a personal response from the student. So it's not what I think or Simon thinks or Ellen thinks that's important. It's the way we open the poem up so the student can make his or her conclusions and his or her strong response to the poem. And that's important in the way we try to write the guidelines. So in the discussion of the higher level poets, well, in fact, with both higher level and ordinary, we give a biography of the poet. Then with the higher level poets, we also give a little background to the social and cultural context in which the poet was working and living and breathing, if you like. And that can help a teacher, that can help a student to understand some of the concerns in the poem. Like, you can't really study Seamus Heaney's poem without doing a little bit about the Troubles. The poems just don't make complete sense. So we do the social and cultural background. We also do a quick introductory summary of the themes that you're going to encounter when you read those poems. So we think they're useful. We're not saying that biography dictates what a poem means, but we're saying it can be very helpful in understanding where a poet is coming from. And the same way social and cultural context can help you understand, Sylvia Plath grew up in the context of post-war America, this idea of the perfect housewife. And I think her mother expected that she would become that perfect housewife. And it put huge pressure on her and on herself to be that. And when she wasn't able to maintain that and write the way she wanted to write, it caused huge pressure in her life. So that's important. Those kind of things are important to know. They don't fully explain the poems, but to give some understanding of the poet's circumstances.
Because poems and poets don't come out of nowhere. There's a background that has to be, that if you understand, it just throws a lot of light on the poem. I'm thinking about John Donne.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that he was raised a Catholic and then ended up as an Anglican priest, and there's an awful lot of argument with God and soul searching about his religious beliefs and his poems.
Yeah. And then it's really interesting as well that there's not always an exact one-to-one correlation between the I in the poem and the person who wrote the poem. And so sometimes the commentaries try to point that out. It can be simplistic to say if the poet uses I, that it's exactly the poet they're writing about. It's kind of a poetic persona. So there's always a little bit of distance. And they're really fascinating things that we try to bring out for the student. Yeah.